This is Nathan Stanford Sr. from CodeCraft Hub, helping others learn to code. So for this project, we're going to create a simple blog. When you work for a company, they will always say, I've just got this simple application I need for you to build. And it might even start out simple, but there's no such thing as a simple application. It starts out simple. You keep adding stuff to it until it becomes a full-fledged application that needs maintenance. So whatever you do, when you go to build something new, you really need to think about it, plan it out, try to get it as close to the way it should be done as possible. Now we're going to do old school here, so you're going to learn from scratch. Then later down the road, we will try making a better version that uses different standards. What is a framework? So a framework, when you go look it up on dictionary.com, one of the first parts of it that it explains, it ends up being a set of rules or a set of steps, set of way to do something. So some people will say, well, I'm not using a framework. Well, if you're really not using any set of rules, then that's pretty bad. You may not be using a framework that's being built by other people, but if you have a set of rules, that you should have, at the very minimum, is a set of rules. So let's look at one of the tools that I use. Let's see here. I'm going to copy a link I have to a folder. So we're going to create this simple blog, and it's literally going to be very simple. So what we're going to do first is we're going to say we want to create a table, and we want the name of the first table to be users, because we need users to be able to post these blog entries. And we want to do an ID for the users, integer, and we want to do a primary key, which you can go down here, primary key, or just K for primary key, comma, and we want to do increment. We want it to automatically increment from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. We don't want to have to worry about that. We want it to do it for us. We want the first name of the person, and we want it to be a varchar, variable set of characters, not an integer where it's numbers. If you've taken algebra, you should know that integer is the numbers, but varchar is going to be for the text. So we're going to say, let's just make it 100, and we're going to say last name varchar 100, and then we want email address, not uppercase, email address varchar 100, and then we want password, and for now we'll just do this, varchar 100. So now we have our first table. Great. What do we want next? Well, we need a table posts. And notice I'm doing this plural on purpose because the table is going to hold multiple of the same thing. Now I could just retype this, or sometimes when you're copying another table, you can copy and paste to save a little time. That still took a little bit of time erring around to get to do that. So you have to learn where to do something to save time and where not to. So the first thing we want is the title, and we want it to be varchar. I'm going to make it 255 just in case for some reason the blog post is got a big title. And then what we're going to do next is we want the body of the title, or the content of the post. Content sounds good to me, and we will do text, meaning we want it to be a block of text. Bigger than a varchar 255, we want it to be a block of text. We want to know when was this processed. This post was processed, created at, and I want it to be created at, And then I want timestamp. I want to get the date and the time of the post. Now, one thing we don't have in here is we kind of need to know which user from the users table. So we want to get the users table ID, and we want to say this is an integer. So now we have two tables. We could literally build this with these two. We'll want to add other stuff like comments and stuff later. Let's make this the super simple one. We take the ID from users and we drag it in this tool to users ID. And as you can see, there's a 1 or a line with a dash, one line through it, meaning that's just 1. So for every post, it can only have one user, but every user can have many posts. So those little 3 arrows is many, 1 to many. So this would be a 1 to many relationship. So this is represented over here. So we can actually say we're going to export this in SQL Server, and we're going to go to ColdFusion. You either have whatever version you have. I'm going to go into 2023, and then I'm going into CFusion. You don't worry about this. Just get used to knowing where to go. Go to CFusion after you go into the ColdFusion. Then you're going to scroll to the very bottom and go into www.root. This is the location that you're going to be putting the blog. What I like to do for me when I'm building something new is to create a folder called SQL, put my code in there, and then that way I've got it for my testing and reuse. So here's a simple blog. Here's SQL. So what we want to do is make this table here, and I'll just overwrite what's there. So we're going to hit save, replace, yes. Okay, so now what we can do is we have the SQL to help us create these two tables.